Hi, welcome back to Connect and Create. It's your host, Vceela. Today we have with us the amazing and talented Ushna Suhail. How are you, Ushna?
I'm good. How are you, Priyal? It's nice to see you
I'm
after a
great.
long time.
So nice to see you.
Yeah.
So, why don't you start off with a little introduction about what you do?
Well, basically, I'm a tennis player and I'm a Pakistani tennis player. I've represented Pakistan at the international circuit over the past 13 years. And I've also been 40 times national champion. And this has pretty much been my journey. And sports has always been my passion. I don't think I ever it wasn't my intention to ever become a professional tennis player, but somehow I think things molded up that way, and that's how my journey started. I started playing tennis when I was about 11, 12 years old,
Such a young
and
age.
yeah, and I think it was something very casual because it was something that I developed a passion for. I never thought that I'm gonna be a professional tennis player one day, or I'm gonna grow up and represent my country. But yeah, since I come from a tennis family, my dad used to be a club tennis player, so I
Yeah.
used to watch tennis matches on TV with him. Then I held his racket for the first time, and I started hitting against the wall in my house. And my mom noticed that. She noticed that like June ki garmi mein 12 baje, I'm going outside and I'm getting all tan, and she
Yeah.
just told my dad to go to the club jahan pe wo tennis khelte the, and then that's I think that's how the whole journey and the whole thing started, and I started
Um,
getting passionate and I started
so,
getting
your
interested.
parents are athletes as well. Do you think that had a major influence on your career path? Like, do you think if they weren't into sports, maybe you wouldn't have ended up here?
No, actually, I'll correct you there. My parents weren't professional athletes ever. Like, my dad used to play club tennis and he came from a tennis family. My grandfather used to be a professional tennis player. He was all India number one before partition. And he used to play among some of the best players in the world. And my mom, she never had a sporting background. She was always a sports lover. She used to tell me stories about how she was so passionate about the sports that she played in college, but she used to tell me, unfortunately, her parents never supported her and they never like encouraged her to play sports. She used to be a huge hockey lover. She used to play hockey, volleyball, even badminton in school, but she tells me stories how her parents never supported her. So that's how I think she always wanted to encourage me to play tennis, and especially when she saw I was doing well and I had a passion for it. And I will always give her credit for that because she always had an academic background. She never excelled in sports, but I think because she couldn't do something, so she wanted for me not to go through the same thing, and she wanted not my she didn't want my passion to die, and she wanted me to pursue sports and take it up if I'm doing well at it, and I'm passionate about it. So I've always given that credit to my mother, that she's never discouraged me from the game and she's always supported me, and she still comes to my matches sometimes.
That's
So yeah, I think parent support is very important, and this is what I keep telling everyone, that if your daughter is interested in sports or something healthy, I think you should encourage her and you should help her build a future in it and not discourage her or take her away from her passion, or if she wants to pursue something. It's very important from the
very,
parents especially to give the
very.
support and her to a positive life. Yeah.
That's so true. And don't you feel that sometimes it's hard for women to pursue their passion?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there are many obstacles that come in the way. I mean, everything is not a straight line. There's always a curve, and there are always ups and downs. And there are moments when you're really demotivated. You don't want to get up and do what you've been doing for so long. But then again, I think that shouldn't stop you from living your life and pursuing your passion. Because I think it's not just in Pakistan, everywhere around the world. If you want to pursue your passion, you want to pursue your dreams, there are always going to be ups and downs.
Mhm.
And especially if you talk about women, yes, the amount of opportunities we get are definitely less compared to men. But then again, what I've learned from my journey is that instead of complaining and making excuses, you should do your best in your given circumstances. Because either you can complain about it or you can keep going with your given circumstances. And I know it's not easy sometimes
Mhm.
because there are points when you feel like you're a bit lost and you don't exactly understand what's happening and why it's happening. But I think it's important to remember the good moments and look back and you should always remember why you started something. And I think that should give you the motivation to move forward and keep making a difference, contributing towards positivity and, creating a difference in society, especially for girls and women.
Yeah,
So
very.
this is my message.
I think it's so wonderful that you're so much more than just an extremely talented tennis player. I think it's so amazing how you represent Pakistan all over the world. And you aren't just into sports, you talk about the actual social issues. Do you think that there is a decline in the importance of sports in Pakistan?
Um, yeah, look, I think after Corona, especially, I would say that Corona has definitely changed the whole world. Like, I would talk even before Corona, like, unfortunately, there has been a gap of 10 years to 11 years where we haven't had international sports happening in Pakistan. After the attack on the Sri Lankan team that happened way back in 2010, I think we haven't had any international tennis tournaments or much international sports activities except for cricket now since a couple of years happening in Pakistan, and Davis Cup also happening in Pakistan. Davis Cup is an international team event which happens. There have been teams coming the last 1 years, but yes, that gap has definitely created a huge difference for many athletes who are from this generation. And I think despite that huge obstacle, because the decade is like a huge, timeline in any athlete's career. So for me, it's been difficult because I've been traveling so much. I've been on the go, I've been representing Pakistan. And for me to achieve what I've done till now, given that there haven't been any international sports activities happening in Pakistan, especially in tennis for women,
Yeah.
I think I can say I'm proud of it, because I think had there been international tennis tournaments happening in Pakistan after 2010, had we players got an opportunity to play on our home ground and make international points, it could have been a different situation. But unfortunately, it wasn't. So going outside and playing and winning has always been a bonus for me. Representing your country is one thing, but then winning matches is like a bonus altogether, because, like I said, there haven't been international sports happening in Pakistan for the past 11 years. So yeah, I think Corona has kind of brought that down a bit more, because traveling isn't the same anymore. We're not traveling for tours anymore like Asian Games or Fed Cup. Unfortunately, we were supposed to go to Fed Cup this year, but due to Corona, everything got cancelled. So yeah, things haven't been easy, and there have been areas where I've been having motivational issues. But then again, like, I feel you should always go back to why you started something and try to regroup and, try to live your destiny and understand that this is not something that's happening to you, it's happening to everyone around the world. So the most important thing is how you respond to it and how you deal with it and adjust accordingly. Yeah.
So Corona has had an impact on your career, right? Are you still playing tennis these days?
Yes, fortunately, the tennis courts are open. And as we know, tennis is a sport where social distancing is not much of an issue. It's not like maybe squash or badminton or, boxing, where you need you don't need physical contact in badminton or squash, but I'm just saying that it's an indoor sport. So fortunately, the tennis courts are open till now. But the latest I heard, they might close it down after or before, a few days before Eid. But for now, they're open. So I go twice a week to the tennis courts, and I go and, I just knock a bit to stay in touch with the game. And then I try doing some fitness. I go to the park, I run. The gym that I was going to also closed down recently, like 3 days back. The government announced like a strict lockdown. So my gym is closed, but I'm still trying to go to the parks and, run and trying to keep myself as fit as I can so that I don't gain too much weight during down in quarantine. And I just try and go and knock on the tennis courts twice or thrice a week. But at the same time, I'm also a bit concerned because, you're supposed to be careful because I'm living in my house with my parents, and, there are other people in the house, and you've got to be careful that you don't spread any sort of
course.
Corona or something. So yeah, I'm practicing, not as much as I was before, a few weeks, but now
only fair. Yeah.
I'm still in touch with the game, and I practice, and I try to go run and stay fit. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's amazing that you're still practicing even during the pandemic, because a lot of people have just they've lost motivation. That's what I see, is
Mm.
that almost everyone I know has just lost the motivation to do anything at all. So it's so amazing that you're staying productive during this time as well. So
Yeah, and it gets tough, because like I said, motivational issues come and go, like with me, and it's not easy, but I want to keep myself busy. I don't like sitting idle, so I want to keep myself busy, and I want to keep doing something and not just sit in the room and just
yeah.
look at my phone all day. It's not healthy. So yeah, I try to push myself and sweat every day and do something, keep myself busy.
You are so hardworking. How did you manage university with your with such a big career?
I think for me, the first year was very challenging
Mm-hmm.
because I came from a totally different background from everyone else in the class, because you guys came from, a school life or a college life. With
Okay.
me, it was like I didn't have a normal college going or university. I mean, I completed my education. And I'm so grateful to the institutes who supported me, including our university, Grammar University. I'm so grateful to the dean, Dr. Neelam Hussain, then Ma'am Neelam Hussain, then Sir Rashid. All these people have contributed a lot for me to complete my degree. So how did I complete it? I mean, I remember that the first year was challenging because I wasn't really up for this degree.
Mm-hmm.
But then
I see.
I felt like I had to complete my education, and my parents as well. They thought I should have a graduation degree, and this was a good option because Sir Rashid and Ma'am Neelam Hussain, they were ready to like support me, because they said that I could attend classes a month or two before my final years, and I had this deal with them that I was going to play tennis throughout the rest of the months, but I had to give up my tennis and dedicate myself to to study and to the academic side for the first 3-4 months of every year, till this degree ended. So that's how I was able to manage it, and that's how I've done my O levels and A levels. I've completed that in parts, but I'm so grateful to Lakas as well, the dean and Lakas, who have been so supportive, and they've actually affiliated me with them, and I've been able to complete my education. So yeah, I think we should have such more opportunities for athletes in Pakistan where they can play their sport and complete their education at the same time, because we need to have sports schools and sports universities, and that system where athletes can also have a system of completing their education and pursuing their sport at the same time. So yeah, I've had a good experience in that life. So I would encourage uh, other institutes and universities to do this more often and support players who want to represent their country or who want to excel in the sport, and they should like give them a leverage of attendance and classes, and because I think they deserve it for what they're doing. And I mean, after all, we are creating a good image for our country and a soft image for Pakistan, and we're doing something positive, so might as well help us in it, and other players too.
Of course, I completely agree with you. But with what you do you think is the most difficult part about your work?
Okay, so the most difficult part is that there are days when you don't want to get up and basically move it, but you have to do it. And nowadays, I would say that thing is not that much on my nerves because it's Corona, but at the same time, it's on my mind, that I have to sweat. I have to somehow try and keep myself in a form where I'm still able to play tennis, basically. It's like the hardest thing is motivation, I would say. Some days are days when you're not motivated to do what you're doing because it gets a bit draining emotionally, mentally, physically. But then again, I think you have to do it. You have to push yourself, and that's the thing that I'm grateful about playing sports. That it's taught me not to give up, and basically I think sports just helps you in every aspect. Like I said, I wasn't up for this degree in the first year, but then I was like, okay, no, I've started this thing, so I'm going to complete it. I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to take my degree in 3 years. So yeah, I think motivation is an issue. Sometimes it's hard to push yourself, but then again, like I said, it's good to remember why you started something, and you should never basically take things for granted, and you know, live up to your destiny and try to make the best of it.
Very well.
So yeah.
have you noticed that cricket is mostly covered in the media? How do you feel about that? Do you think that that could change anytime soon?
Well, cricket is something which has always been the most popular sport. If you talk about the subcontinent, like in Pakistan and India, it's a very popular sport. So, it's something that is going to take decades to change. It's not going to happen overnight. Like, yes, it's true that cricket has always been, prioritized over other sports. But then again, what I feel about it, like I said, it's not that tennis doesn't get importance or other sports don't get importance. It's just that the ratio of importance that cricket gets is way more. Why? Because we have more sponsorships, we have more media coverage, we have more people following the sport. And every time I give an interview, I just tell people that if you start televising our tennis matches on TV, like we have a couple of nationals every year where our matches are televised on TV, and people take so much interest in social media. They have questions to ask me. They want to know who the top players in Pakistan are. They take interest in tennis. So I feel if this thing starts increasing more, then tennis is also one of those sports that is globally very popular. So people do love tennis. There's a community of people in Pakistan who are tennis lovers, who love this game. But like I said, that ratio of people can definitely increase if you start marketing and televising it more. And yeah, that's what I'm going to say about it.
As it should.
But yeah.
So, what are your future plans? I mean, of course, you're already so successful. You have your entire life figured out. Everyone knows who you are. But is there anything else that you would want to achieve?
Like it's like, okay, I have tennis right now, and it's something that I'm doing, and it's something that I'm pursuing right now, and it's something that I'm earning off right now. But the thing is, my future plans, like honestly, Corona has definitely put everything in so much vulnerability, like I don't even know what I'm going to do next week because of Corona. So, I think Corona has definitely taught me not to do too much of a long-term planning, because
Wow.
it's just, so difficult to really lay out a plan. So I'm just trying to go day by day and not thinking too much ahead. I'm just trying to take every day as it is and making the best of it. And like I told you, I might start my YouTube channel as well, inshallah. So let's see how that goes. That is an activity that I'm planning to do as well. So yeah, there's some things I'm sorting out. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what can I do apart from just playing tennis and training?
That is a terrific idea, especially during this pandemic and with the amount of followers that you already have. To make a YouTube channel, you already have an audience that, it'll be easier for you to get monetized in a shorter period of time. What type of content will you put out there?
Okay, so with the content, like, I feel the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and create a base and try to get to people and tell maximum people about who I really am. Basically, just set out my identity. And after that, of course, once people know that I'm an athlete, I'm a tennis player, I wouldn't mind giving a few tennis or fitness lessons, on YouTube. That's a good idea, especially during the pandemic. I think it's a good idea to help people know about some exercises they could use at home and, keep themselves as fit as they can. Then I wouldn't mind interviewing a few colleagues who are in the sports fraternity, or a few people who I know other than just sports. I'm also trying to get my hosting skills and my interviewing skills right. So I wouldn't mind doing that as well, trying to explore what I can do with it, because I've been doing radio shows on FM 100, so that's kind of like helping with my hosting. But I think hosting behind the screen and hosting on screen is a totally different thing. So obviously when I start my YouTube channel, then I'm going to be hosting on screen, so that's going to be a totally different thing. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, because I feel it's something that I'm interested to do, but I'm going to have to develop that over time and over months to get used to of it and coming on screen and hosting. So let's see how that goes. I just want to first get used to of this app, and then see then plan out a bit what type of episodes I want to make, and how I can make good use of it. Yeah.
Best of luck with that. I'm sure you're going to.
Thank you.
Looking back at your journey, you started at such a young age. Where did you get your training from?
Well, it's like I said, it's not been a straight line. But I started off, I remember my dad took me to Lahore Gymkhana Club for the very first time. And that's where I initially learned how to hold a tennis racket. And yeah, I think there were like a couple of coaches who noticed I had a natural potential and I had a natural style, and they encouraged my dad to, make me participate in some local tournaments in Gymkhana. And I won in my age category. And then my aunt, who was a national champion as well, she told my mom to send me to Rashid Malik, who's the top national coach. He's been a Davis Cupper himself. So he used to coach he still coaches at PLTA, Punjab Lawn Tennis Association. So the very first time I had my international camp was in Thailand. I was 15, and I remember I was chubby. I was chubby as a kid, and I was kind of overweight. So when I went there, I realized that among my, age group, among other kids, I'm kind of unfit. So I remember the very first Thai trainer I had, she used to take such good care of my diet, about my exercise, and she helped me lose like 7 kilos in a month. That was the first time I realized how important it is to be fit for tennis and, to have a certain lifestyle. And yeah, I wouldn't say there's been one coach my entire life. I think I would give credit to a lot of people during my life journey. There have been a lot of people who played a role individually in my journey. Not just in my tennis journey, but in my academic side as well. Like I mentioned, So Chuck Reese is one coach I would definitely give a lot of credit to, because when I went to him in USA when I was about 17, he kind of like, he's trained like a couple of junior Wimbledon champions, and he's like a very top class coach in the States. So yeah, he's helped me develop some habits. Then in Pakistan, and of course, currently my coach, he's also been Pakistan number 4, Munir Ashik. Like he helps me do drills and, like do footwork things on the court. Nowadays, I'm not doing them so much. Like I said, I'm playing tennis thrice a week. But hopefully once our tournament season starts and when I start my proper training, then yeah, I'll get back to the courts with him. So yeah, I don't think there's one person I can give credit to. There have been many people who've contributed in my tennis life and who've come in my journey and who've helped me be the player that I am today. So yeah.
Your journey is so inspirational. So is there anything you would want to change about it though?
Sometimes I have this thought that, like, people ask me if I wasn't a tennis player, what I would be. So sometimes I think about this, that maybe if I would have gone into a sport like cricket, which is more popular in Pakistan, things would have been different. But then I'm like, no, I think that's just being ungrateful.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, you should always make the best of your circumstances, and things aren't always perfect, So, but then I think about it and I'm like, no, I think the type of understanding I have about tennis and like the type of journey I had, I don't think I would like to change anything about it, except for the part where I've missed my school life, my college life. Like I told you, I haven't lived a normal school or college life where, you have a lot of, like, I would say, group of friends or social gatherings. Like I've missed out on that in my teenage and early 20s. But I don't think I think about it sometimes, but then I'm like, nah, I don't think I would want to change anything about it, because I think I've been able to travel so much in my age. Like I think I've been able to travel so much to countries I never thought I'd go. So yeah, there are always pros and cons to everything, and I just think the amount of exposure I've had is definitely something to look back at. And
it's honestly a dream for most people. You maybe didn't have a normal university life, but you make a change in Pakistan. So that is truly amazing. You're very special. And I think everyone has their own journey in life. That's why you chose tennis, because it's your own calling. It's your destiny, right?
Yeah, and like I said, somehow things molded in that direction, because something that you're getting rewards off of, I think automatically your heart starts going towards that direction, even from my parents' side. So like I said, it wasn't something really planned from the beginning, but it's just that things started moving to that direction, and then it's like, okay, I'm in this game and I'm getting rewarded for it, then might as well, take this journey and live up to it. So yeah.
So before we wrap this up, what advice would you like to give to other tennis players and to our listeners who are watching this episode?
Yeah, I have many people and many parents and many players coming up to me and asking me how they can start tennis and how they would like to play international tennis. So if you specifically talk about tennis players or people who want to take the sport, my advice to them is that don't think too much ahead. Like, it's important to know what your short-term goals are, because tennis is a bit complex. You need to know whether you just want to play nationally, or do you want to play the sport to get a scholarship and go abroad and play tennis on a scholarship basis, or do you actually want to go full pro and travel around the world and play tournaments? See, because there are different scenarios for each circumstance and each situation. So my advice to them is that, first of all, only start this game if you have a true passion for it, because you're going to lose a lot in the beginning. There's no guarantee that you're going to be a successful tennis player. And then secondly, like, just keep in mind that you need to be clear about your goals, and you need to give yourself a bit of like deadlines, that, okay, this is the time I have to achieve, this is the sin. And if things work in that direction, then okay, that's plan A. If they don't, then there has to be a plan B and a backup where you can go back and still be a tennis player, but kind of mold your journey a bit. So my advice is that don't make excuses and start this game only if you have a passion for it, and do your best in your given circumstances, because like I said, even in my journey, like, things haven't been perfect, and they haven't been exactly the way I would have wanted them to be. But then at the same time, just do your best, and just do your best in your given circumstances, and just leave the rest to God. And I'm sure that once you do something with full passion and wholeheartedly, then of course you get rewarded for it at some point in life. So yeah, don't give up and do your best in your circumstances. And the most important thing is to keep your short-term and long-term goals aligned with each other. If you ever think of picking the sport, and if you ever think of pursuing tennis as a game, because becoming a successful tennis player or not, I think you can always play the sport for fun, and you can always play tennis with your friends. At the end of the day, it's a healthy thing to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So don't discourage yourself from it, or don't get disheartened by it, but just try to align your short-term and long-term goals if you're ever trying to make yourself a tennis player or put your kid into the sport, because that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Perfectly said. Well, with that, we'll be wrapping up this episode. Thank you so much for taking out the time to do this. Thank you for being so open and sharing your inspirational story with everyone.
No problem.
It was so nice.
It was fun. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in to today's episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Goodbye.